Today is the 200th birthday of the famous German chemist Robert Bunsen, or Bunsen as he's called in English. And he, of course, is really famous for the Bunsen burner. And we've used it on quite a lot of our videos, never really looked at it. So come and see what a Bunsen burner is. It's a metal plate with a small nozzle with a tiny hole, and the gas comes out along this pipe and up through the hole. And on top you put this metal tube. You can see it's just a metal tube which has a slot in the bottom. You put another piece of tube with a matching hole and you can rotate it. So you can open and close this little window, and this gets screwed onto the top. So if we turn on the gas and light the Bunsen, it begins with this rather nice orange flame. The orange colour comes from unburnt carbon. It's very hot, these tiny bits of carbon, rather like you get in a candle flame. And so the combustion of the gas, the burning of the gas, is not really very efficient, and some of the carbon is being wasted. The natural gas that comes out of here is largely methane, CH4, and so some of it is not burning properly. It's bright yellow because the tiny particles of carbon are so hot that they're glowing bright orange. The exciting thing happens when you turn the piece of metal and open the little window below. And this Bunsen burner was invented by Bunsen and his lab assistant, though most people have forgotten the name of the lab assistant now.
What is the lab assistant's name?
I can't remember either. As I turn this, we mix the air much more efficiently with the methane, and so it burns really well. Scientists were really excited about the behavior of this, and one of the things that Bunsen is famous for is looking at the light that was emitted from flames. In fact, he used this burner to discover the elements rubidium and cesium, but from the light that they emitted. The rubidium and cesium were in small amounts in mineral water from some German spa. He discovered them using his burner. One of the things people use this hot flame for is for blowing glass. My hands shake too much for being a very good glass blower, but the idea is that you rotate a piece of glass in the hottest possible part of the flame, which is the tip of this blue cone, and you can see the orange color of the sodium being evaporated off the glass, and the glass goes all soggy, you can see here. And when it's really hot and soft and beginning to glow quite red, you can then pull the glass out into a fine capillary tube. This was the first sort of burner, the first type of burner where you could really control the size of the flame, and you could make it in different sizes. They have the top of the Bunsen burner was sometimes made like a fishtail, so you got a flat flame that was quite large. And so it was the ability to manipulate fire and to heat things precisely that made it so important. When I was a student, or at school, I think the Bunsen burner was much more an icon of chemistry than the periodic table. My first textbook on inorganic chemistry that I used as a teenager never mentioned the periodic table, but it had pictures of Bunsen burners, and we used them all the time. So when I first started teaching chemistry, teaching the chemistry lab, I was teaching the lab over there on the other side of the building, and a really stupid student, and I'm sorry to say he was stupid, managed to put the rubber tube from his Bunsen burner under the flame, and the tube caught fire and burnt through, and suddenly there was a flame coming out of the tube like a flamethrower all over the bench. And it was at that moment that I realized that I didn't know where the fire extinguisher was, and it took me nearly a minute to find the fire extinguisher but by which time the whole bench was burning. And we put out the fire, but for the next few years, every time I went into that lab, I saw a black stain on the bench to show how stupid I was that I was running a lab without knowing where the fire extinguisher was. Bunsen was a really talented chemist who made contributions over large areas of chemistry. He discovered the elements, he laid the foundations for spectroscopy. I think probably he would be a little bit disappointed that he's being remembered on his birthday for the Bunsen burner, because I'm sure he didn't think it was the most important part of his career. Bunsen was very famous as a very good glass blower, and apparently he could glass blow until his fingers were smoking and had gone black. The nerves in his fingertips had gone. I've burnt myself quite often glass blowing. I've never had my fingers going black or smoking, and anyway, smoking isn't allowed in the lab anymore.